on Sunday. In the Oregon district of Dayton, Ohio. And it was at a bar. So he and his friends got up. Says James Williams was seated with the friends on the patio of the Ned Peppers, according to New York Times again here, which is a bar near where the shooting occurred. He and his friends got up and walked across the street when they suddenly heard shots. He and a friend rushed to the back of the bar and found bodies all over the ground. Officers at the scene were asking for belts to use as tourniquets, so Williams took off his belt. It's awful stuff to read about. And I do want to go to some of the reaction here, and it's not good. It's really not good. I mean, and we're going to go back to El Paso. It's really, really, really bad stuff here from Kevin McCarthy in particular. I mean, there's so many things you could say. You could say white terrorism is to blame for this, white supremacy, domestic terrorism, guns, hate, insecurity, ignorance, money, whatever the case may be. But one of the things you should absolutely not say is video games. Top Republicans are really desperate, and they're pulling out of all the tired cliches to defend the indefensible, or at least hide behind them as some sort of increasingly desperate and weak and pathetic meat shield that's getting even weaker and weaker by the day about this epidemic that is at play with gun violence. And House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, he appeared on Fox News on Sunday after 29 people were killed, more than 50 injured, in 2 mass shootings in less than 13 hours to blame video games for the violence. So here's what he had to say here. I'm going to give you kind of a roundup of some of the awful Republican responses, some good ones as well, in just a minute. But first, here's McCarthy killing it on Fox and Friends, or whatever it was.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
Today is a day that millions of Americans will go out to their place of worship, that we will lift up those families who are mourning, we'll lift up their losses. We will thank the first responders when we look at their ability to respond.
Probably the most insane part of this is when I'm about to play the video game clip in a second, but she was bringing up the question because she talked to the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, who we'll talk about in a minute as well, a little bit more in depth. He was apparently talking to her about video games as well.
He was talking, it was a very impassioned conversation.
It was about Dan Patrick here.
And he was talking about the tone that the public uses on social media. He was talking about video games, all of these things that could have triggered, certainly the video game situation, he was saying, may have triggered the shooter there in El Paso. But what are your thoughts on that in terms of understanding that words matter and that when we're talking to each other on social media or looking at video games where they're using videos of characters with these weapons, is there a conversation to be had about that, about the tone that this country is using? It's become commonplace to say whatever you want to anybody on social media.
I think we should, and you want to see from these individuals what they wrote in others, but I mean, this may be a place that we could find this ahead of time. There may be a place of what's being written can be changed, could be an indication that an individual needs help in others that we can stop. But the idea of these video games to dehumanize individuals, to have a game of shooting individuals and others, I've always felt that is a problem for future generations and others. We've watched from studies shown before of what it does to individuals. When you look at these photos of how it took place, you can see the actions within video games and others. But
yeah, I really wish you'd stop saying and others, but it's that's what's to blame. Yeah, that's what's to blame. It's video games, not the fact that your party has been spreading a hateful ideology that motivated him to do this in the first place, and the fact that you can buy guns just as easy as buying candy. It's just that simple. So I mean, if House Minority Leaders, it's kind of rambling word salad response here. I listened to the whole thing. It does not mention racism or anything like that, or white supremacy or guns, really in the most extreme. Yeah, I mean, if the House Minority Leader has studies about video games, it's nice to see them. But the comprehensive report from a New York Times last year about the influence of video games, this is the dumb thing. It's a conservative culture war kind of bitching and complaining, because this report from New York Times last year shows that the opposite is true. Yeah, University of Southern California professor Harry Jenkins, who was cited by the Times, says the overwhelming majority of kids who play do not commit antisocial acts or even violent acts. Like, it is very, very, very rare that you see a kid blatantly because of video games, or when there's not obviously there's no. It's obscene and absolutely inconceivable to say that a kid who plays Call of Duty or like Black Ops or whatever, or Fortnite, whatever, anything like that, or Just Cause 3, 4, whatever. I'm just naming some random video games off the top of my head there, but like, just the idea that people, because everybody plays video games, everybody. You talk to anyone from the age of 10 to 18, especially if they're male, there is a 85% chance that they play video games like once a month, at least, and a 90% chance that they play them, or 100% chance that they play them before. Like, I swear, you will not see anybody who has not ever played a video. Like, it's just such a fixture in teenage life, playing video games in some form or fashion. And it doesn't lead people to commit violent acts. It's just ridiculous. There's a hateful ideology behind it. I mean, half of all adults play video games in the U.S., according to the report, but in Japan, the number is 60%, and the country has a grand total of 6 gun deaths in the entire year of 2014. That's compared to 33,599 gun deaths in the U.S. in that year. But yeah, video games. Like, Japan, they have so many mass shootings there. Like, the inventors of anime, the inventors of Nintendo comes from Japan, obviously. Like, they must be having mass shootings every single day, every single second of every single day. No, obviously not, because it's a stupid response. And the feedback loop that is Fox News and the GOP, McCarthy was, again, as I told you, following up on comments made by Dan Patrick, the guy who was in the wake of the worst massacre this year, threatened Antifa for no reason, and complained about religion and school issues. Yeah, so he also talked about an apparent reference from the El Paso shooter to Call of Duty out of nowhere. I mean, yeah, we know that the video game industry is bigger than the movie industry, he says, and the music industry combined. And there have been studies that say it impacts people, and some studies that say it does not. But I look at the common denominations, and as a 60-year-old grandfather and grandfather myself, what could have possibly changed the country? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so it's really hard to say what could have changed the country as of recent, especially that's really coarsened our culture. I couldn't imagine what it could be.
But do that. But how do you stop these people?
Talking about immigrants here.
There's no
immigrants.
That's only in the panhandle you can get away with that statement.
If you were listening there, he said, shoot them. That's very, very... Yeah, I can only imagine what's coarsened our culture, added violence to our culture. What could it have been? Added just crassness and aggressiveness for no apparent reason. Like, it's ridiculous. Okay, and Fox News, which we're going to talk about next. Anyway, so Representative Tim Ryan had one of the more poignant responses to the Republicans' BS, telling people, pretty much giving everyone a wake-up call. Here is a lesson.
We need leadership right now, and enough is enough. I mean, you watch these videos, and you see Dillard's in the background, and you see Walmart in the background, or you see a church in the background, and no one feels safe anymore. And there is a bottleneck in the United States Senate with Mitch McConnell. We passed in the House of Representatives a few weeks back background checks, a basic step that 90% of the American people support. And the Republicans need to, quite frankly, get their shit together and stop pandering to the NRA, because people are getting killed.
Exactly. People are getting killed. It is that simple. It really is that simple. And not only are people getting killed, but there's a awful, hateful ideology behind it, especially in El Paso. Because when a white supremacist manifesto allegedly posted by the El Paso shooting suspect first began making rounds on Saturday night, Splinter reports, it was not hard to feel a sense of familiarity. Let's think. Where have I heard this clip from the manifesto? It's a summary, of the manifesto from the New York Times, saying, quote, it spoke of a quote-unquote Hispanic invasion of Texas, unquote. It detailed a plan to separate American into territories by race, and it warned that white people were being replaced by foreigners. Where have I heard that before? I don't know. Yeah, I can't. This is a taste of Fox News over the past past like 6 or so months. Tucker Carlson saying, quote, this cannot continue. It's not sustainable. No country can import large number of people who hate it and survive. The Romans were the last to try that with predictable results. Yeah, again, a Hispanic invasion of Texas and white people being replaced by foreigners and racial violence started by these people. That idea is being passed down from Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Fox News, and into the public. It seeps through. I think we talked about this on the show before. It seeps through places like Breitbart to Stormfront to 4chan to 8chan, and then you got a mass shooting. That's how it works. Just that simple. And again, it happens way more often than any kind of mentally ill or Islamic or immigrant shooters that you ever see. So that's something. Laura Ingraham on her podcast on June 18th, 2019 said, no longer can they claim to be for border enforcement or, oh yeah, we're enforcing the border, or, oh yeah, we're for keeping the country safe, and oh yeah, we're not for illegal immigration, we're for legal immigration. That's what they used to say. That's what the Obama folks and the Clinton folks used to say, but no longer. No, you're for replacing the current American population or swamping the current American population with a new population of people who are perhaps more hospitable to socialist ideals. That's what she said June 18th, 2019, talking about the white nationalists, like straight out of the KKK and Stormfront conspiracy theory of they're coming to replace us all. Jews will not replace us. It's that same idea of the fear of replacement that is really driving them. So, yeah, Tucker Carlson, May 21st, 2019. The American piñata has been getting pummeled for decades, and now it has finally come apart. Our national wealth is up for grabs by whomever gets here first, and they're coming. They are coming. Our national wealth is going to be taken by random people who are coming across the border. They're going to kill us. Over the past year, 1% of the entire population of the nation of Guatemala has moved to the United States. A Wall Street Journal piece last month described the plight of that country's villages. Some people are literally depopulating as people stream north to America's generous welfare state. The United States is being plundered by these dirty foreigners from the South, and we can't look about why that's happened. They are coming. We need to run and hide in our sheds. Again, this is a real ringer from 2018, December 13th. Our leaders demand that you shut up and accept this. This is from Tucker Carlson. We have a moral obligation to admit the world's poor, they tell us, even if it makes our own country poorer, dirtier, and more divided. Immigration is a form of atonement. We have to accept immigrants, even if it makes our own country poorer, dirtier, and more divided. That could be coming straight out of a white nationalist manifesto. And if you're not saying that it couldn't, you're just delusional. Because just look at that. Wow. When you see a lot of young men carrying the flag of their country when you see a lot of young men carrying the flag of their country to your country to break your laws, it looks a lot more like an invasion than anything else. That's from Fox and Friends. And, of course, this last one here, Laura Ingraham. In some parts of the country, it does seem like the America that we know and love doesn't exist anymore. Massive demographic changes have been foisted on the American people, and there are changes that none of us ever voted for and most of us don't like. I could go on here. Just tune into it every single solitary night. It's not that hard at all. So... just take that in for a moment and realize what is happening. And an interesting myth that's been around, whenever we talk about guns, we always talk about the Founding Fathers, Second Amendment. It's our God-given right to have guns, whatever the case may be. It's kind of a myth.